Well, I think I'm going to get started. There's still some folks coming in. Hopefully they'll be able to catch up. I would like to thank everybody for joining us and welcome to the Public Sector Educational Webinar Series, Solving Privacy and Data Security Challenges. Powered by Ephesoft Intelligent Document Processing. We're going to be talking about intelligent computer-assisted redaction solution today. My name is Mark Antonacci, and I represent Computer SI Corporation, the creator of ICARS. And joining me in a few moments is Andrew Gingold, Senior Government Sales Account Executive at Ephesoft. And I'm going to start out on camera, but as we get into the presentation and to the demonstration aspect, I'll be turning my camera off so as not to disrupt the demonstration. For today's agenda, we're going to review the following topics: an introduction to Ephesoft, presented by Andrew Gingold, an introduction to Computer SI Corporation, what is PII, what are the privacy protection challenges for government entities, and many of you are likely facing these challenges right now, currently. How can intelligent computer-assisted redaction, or ICARS, help you solve your government PII challenges? And then lastly, we will conclude with a question and answer session. We anticipate the webinar will be approximately 30 to 45 minutes, depending on the number of questions. Please post your questions in the Q&A section, and we will answer as many questions as we can live following the presentation. Also, please note that the webinar is being recorded and will be made available to all registered attendees. At this time, I would like to introduce Andrew Gingold, Senior Government Sales Account Executive at Ephesoft.
Thank you, Mark. Hello, everybody. As Mark mentioned, my name is Andrew Gingold. I'm the Account Manager for Ephesoft's Public Sector team, responsible for our relationship with all federal, state, and local government agencies. And we're here today, as per the slide here, to introduce you to Transact, which is our intelligent document processing and data enrichment solution. And it automatically extracts meaningful data from paper or electronic documents from any source and in any format. Transact can process incoming documents to recognize the document types, extract the appropriate data from those documents, and export the data and documents to appropriate downstream systems. Transact can perform this task on structured, semi-structured, unstructured documents containing either machine print or handprint or both. We employ AI and ML technologies to complement our OCR and ICR tools to perform the document classification, separation, and extraction. And just to reiterate what Mark was saying, we welcome any questions. So, we're on there. Mark, you want to move to the next slide?
Yeah. And before we do that, the primary focus of today is not so much the extraction aspect. It's actually locating the information contained within the document. So we're going to be demonstrating how, instead of extracting the information, we're going to mark particular values found within documents for redaction, and that's going to be automated. So basically, the Transact solution has a dual purpose, right? So you can use it for classification and extraction, and or marking areas of documents to secure the PII information.
Absolutely. So, like I say, this we just want to talk about our partnership with Computer SI. We have been partners for over 5 years. A lot of expertise dealing with government agencies. When you have a company like Ephesoft, which has real experience in these areas, and then combine that with the expertise that Computer SI brings in, it really becomes a very powerful partnership. And the demonstration and discussion that Mark is going to give you guys today will really show you how we can solve these problems, which are real world, today's problems that need to be addressed.
All right, thank you, Andrew. That's great information. Now that you learned a little bit about Ephesoft and the relationship with Computer SI, the next logical question is, who is Computer SI Corporation? For over 38 years, Computer SI has helped organizations identify, analyze, and improve existing business processes to increase employee productivity, increase profitability, meet best practice standards, improve the quality of employee and constituent experiences. In short, our focus is on process automation and digital transformation. We're headquartered in Norwalk, Connecticut, here in the U.S., with customers located throughout the United States as well as the United Kingdom. Well, let's get to the heart of the problem and then the solution. First, what is personally identifiable information? I'm sure most, if not all of you, are familiar with the term, but specifically, what is deemed personally identifiable information? The Department of Homeland Security defines personally identifiable information, or PII, as any information that permits the identity of an individual to be directly or indirectly inferred, including any information that is linked or linkable to that individual, regardless of whether the individual is a U.S. citizen, a lawful permanent resident, a visitor to the U.S., or an employee or contractor to the department. Some examples of PII information are names, addresses, telephone numbers, and dates of birth. And the question comes up, when can PII be exposed? Through FOIA or Freedom of Information Act requests. Since 1967, FOIA has provided the public with the right to request access to records from any federal agency, as well as many state and local agencies whose FOIA policies mirror the federal policies. Most government agencies are required to disclose any information requested under FOIA unless it falls under one of 9 exemptions which protect interests such as personal privacy, national security, and law enforcement active investigations. A lack of internal document security can also be a source of exposure. The personally identifiable information found in documents is often not required for general employee document access or processes. It's important for government departments or agencies to have security levels granular enough to allow access to documents or emails that contain PII only to staff who require it for their job functions. Another potential area of exposure is via constituent portal access. When documents are generally made accessible through public portals, it is critical to ensure that the information published does not contain PII data. And there's others such as contractor access and obviously computer breaches and more. But if the documents are redacted and it's burned into the documents, even a security breach would not be able to access that private information. What is sensitive personally identifiable information? As it sounds, it's information that is deemed more sensitive than general or standard personally identifiable information. Sensitive PII includes, but is not limited to, the following examples: social security numbers, passport numbers, driver's license numbers, alien registration numbers, account numbers, financial records, credit card numbers, medical records, biometrics, criminal history records, and email addresses. This data requires stricter handling guidelines because of the increased risk to an individual if the data is compromised. And then when you take a look at when can the sensitive PII data be exposed, it's really the same, by the same manners and the same methods as the less sensitive standard PII, which are FOIA requests, internal document security, constituent portal access, and more. When PII information is exposed within government agencies, there are serious potential consequences. First, for the government department or agency that's exposed the information, there could be a loss of public trust, increased government oversight, loss of funding, as well as civil and/or criminal penalties. For the victims, they potentially face identity theft, loss of government benefits because somebody else might be requesting them in their name and with their identity, and then public embarrassment. And then lastly, for the person responsible for the incident, whether it be inadvertent or maliciously, could require counseling and/or additional training, loss of employment, as well as civil and/or criminal penalties. Within the next several slides, I'll be reviewing how we can help solve data privacy challenges with ICARS. Even today, it's estimated that 80 to 90% of data is unstructured, meaning not in a database, therefore cannot be easily accessed, delivered, or protected. Our intelligent computer-assisted redaction solution can resolve the issue of redacting personally identifiable information found on unstructured content. Typically, our typical unstructured data consists of emails, attachments, and documents in various file formats. We can systematically and automatically import and process emails, attachments, and documents regardless of their current storage locations. We can process them from network folders, email boxes, content management system, blobs, or binary large objects and databases, or they can even be scanned or printed to ICARS for redaction processing. After the PII information has been redacted, the documents can be saved to their original locations and or maintained in a document repository that we provide as a part of the solution. They may be stored as revisions of the original documents, an entirely new document, or as a replacement of the original unredacted copy. If unredacted emails, attachments, or documents are retained, our included content repository provides security at a very granular level, which may be readily configured to allow or disallow access to the documents and or their revisions. Because the emails, attachments, and documents would now be stored and managed electronically in a redacted format, future retrieval or distribution of these documents will be possible without the need to repeat the process. Most government agencies do not have the resources required to locate and secure personally identifiable information for thousands or millions of existing or newly received documents. When manually processing and redacting, typically the emails, attachments, and documents are printed. The hard copies are then manually read by humans, physically redacted with markers or whiteout, and then photocopied before delivering the content. It's not uncommon for the redacted physical documents to be converted back to a digital format through scanning. Even if government agencies have software applications today that allow them to redact documents electronically, reading the documents, locating the personally identifiable information, and redacting the content is still a very manual process. In either aforementioned document review and redaction scenario, it is a very tedious process. ICARS can process large back files of documents, classify them, and locate personally identifiable information on every page of every document, while highlighting the suspected PII content for redaction. The computer-assisted systemic processing of content saves hundreds or thousands of hours of labor depending on your total document volume. The acceptance of redactions, initially created as soft redactions, which we'll see later, can be automatic without requiring human intervention, or they can be queued in a workflow for a brief human review prior to permanently burning the redaction into the document image. The redaction acceptance process is tailored to meet the needs of each customer based on system confidence levels, the type of documents, or the type of content being redacted, user security levels, as well as any number of other configurable rules to meet our customers' needs and satisfy compliance requirements. The next slide is a pre-recorded portion of our ICARS demonstration. Please note, in our demonstrations, we illustrate the redaction of select PII information, but ICARS may be configured to automatically locate and redact additional PII information based on our customers' needs and desired configuration. And as I mentioned earlier, to not interfere with the demonstration video, I will temporarily be turning off my video camera and resuming it later in the presentation.
The documents or emails that require processing for PII content can reside virtually anywhere. Network or local folders, email boxes, databases, enterprise content management systems, and more. Through native configuration or the available APIs, the ICARS solution can automatically ingest large volumes of backfile documents on a scheduled or polling basis for computer-assisted processing and redaction. Within this demonstration video, we are simply showing some sample image documents in a network share. However, hundreds of file formats are supported, and depending on the daily volume and/or the backfile volume that must be processed, the solution is scalable to be able to redact thousands or even tens of thousands of documents per hour. Should users wish to select collections of documents for redaction on an ad hoc basis, they can simply copy or move the appropriate documents to a monitored network folder or send them to a monitored email box. In addition to redacting your existing backfile of documents as a systematic backfile endeavor or on an ad hoc basis, ICARS can be part of your daily document processing. ICARS provides the option of managing the original and redacted documents in our included Enterprise Content Management repository or storing the redacted revisions of the documents in a location of your choosing. The documents are
So continuing with solving the data privacy challenges with ICARS, in many of today's manual redaction processes, there is little to no visibility into the process. Some of the topics of concern are how long does the redaction process take, who is approving or creating the redactions, what is the status of the redaction process, when were the documents redacted, who has access to redacted or unredacted documents, what documents have been redacted, and much more. Without a process history or audit trail, there is little to no accountability, and it provides a significant opportunity for a duplication of effort, inefficiencies, and costly mistakes. ICARS users can also benefit from the ability of the system to store, manage, and secure redacted documents, allowing staff to spend far less time retrieving, reviewing, redacting, and delivering and or publishing the same documents in the future. The next slide contains a pre-recorded demonstration of an example of an ICARS process. Please note that all of the documents and data represented are comprised of fictitious information.
After the documents have been automatically ingested and run through the ICARS intelligent engine, powered by Ephesoft, the redaction of the documents will either be automatically accepted and burned into the documents, or they will stop for review and approval by authorized users. The determination if a document is automatically approved or if it requires human approval can be based on a number of configurable system processing rules or factors. The rules can be based on information such as the document type or classification, the recognition competence level of the Ephesoft engine, the desired process by your organization, the expected number of fields found versus the actual number found, and many more. For process demonstration purposes, all of the sample documents in this demonstration are going to the redaction review workflow lifecycle, shown as the highest level of the workflow tree. Within the redaction review lifecycle, they will then stop within the redaction review queue for human review, possible redaction editing, and redaction approval. As I mentioned just a few moments ago, based on any number of configurable rules, documents can have the redactions automatically approved to skip the human review and approval step. The number 8 next to the redaction review queue indicates that there are currently 8 documents awaiting review. The other queues, or workflow steps in this process, are pending redaction burn-in and complete. Once the redaction review queue is selected, the 8 documents that require review are visible and accessible in the workflow inbox. If there are large volumes of documents requiring approval, the redaction review queue can be load balanced to only present the documents assigned to each reviewer based on configurable rules, such as the document types, classification of the documents, department, alphabetically, round robin, and more. The system may even be configured to only present documents one at a time, so users will not have the ability to skip documents or cherry-pick documents for any reason. Optionally, approvers may be required to review documents on a first-in, first-out basis. By looking at the entry date column, you can see that we have the system sorting the documents by the date and time they were brought into the system by default. However, this too is configurable. We can sort and or filter the documents by any number of document classification fields, which can be independent of or combined with the date and time to ensure that the most pressing documents are viewed first. The initial document that we have selected for redaction review is a check for Jane Smith. In this case, the check is blank because it was submitted as a proof of residency document and not a payment. As a matter of best practice, Jane probably should have written void on the check, but the important point is that the ICARS engine, powered by Ephesoft, recognized that there is an account number and routing number on this document that should be redacted. You can see that the solution created a blue soft redaction on the check for review. It is called a soft redaction because at this point it is a transparent redaction highlight that allows reviewers to verify that the highlighted information should in fact be redacted. It also allows the reviewer to adjust the size and or location of the redaction highlight. After we are satisfied with the redaction process, all the user has to do is click on the Redaction Complete Ad Hoc Task button. After clicking the button, we have optionally configured the system to have the reviewer confirm that the redaction is complete. We're going to go ahead and click yes, and that document leaves the redaction review queue and proceeds to the complete queue. You can see that there are now only 7 items or documents in my pending review workflow inbox. The second example document is a passport for a person named Happy Traveler. Here we see a passport for Happy Traveler with the passport ID numbers marked for redaction. After clicking the PII redaction highlight button at the top of the screen, we are adding a redaction highlight to the date of birth. Authorized reviewers can create ad hoc redactions to information that should additionally be redacted for any reason. After completing the review and/or addition of the redaction highlights, as shown previously, clicking the Redaction Complete button will invoke the Redaction Complete confirmation, and upon confirming, the document will be transitioned out of the redaction review queue. There are now only 6 document work items remaining. The next example document is a New York State driver license. On this document, the New York State driver license ID and the date of birth have been identified for redaction. And just to reiterate, certain document types can be automatically approved to proceed without human review or approval. However, for demonstration purposes, we are having all of the documents stop for human review in the redaction review queue. In this case, we are going to immediately click the Redaction Complete task to bring up the redaction confirmation message. Like the examples before, choosing yes will transition this document to the complete queue, leaving 5 documents in the workflow inbox for review. The fourth example document containing PII information is a multiple-page W-4 document for Hannah Rivers. Note the thumbnails down the right-hand side of the viewer, indicating our page of focus and that there are multiple pages. The system also denotes the page number versus the total page count, which is very useful for navigating documents with dozens or hundreds of pages. This W-4 document contains handwritten, personally identifiable information, and the Ephesoft engine is still able to locate and soft redact the appropriate content. You can see that the handwritten Social Security number has been successfully identified on all 3 pages of the W-4 document. Again, we are going to go ahead and click the Redaction Complete task, confirm that we have completed the redaction review to transition the document out of the redaction review queue, leaving 4 documents in the workflow inbox for review. As I mentioned earlier, we can also redact emails and/or their attachments. This email contained a financial account number in the subject line and message body that was identified as PII data and was marked for redaction. Although we manually selected each document to work on from the workflow inbox, the selection of the document may be configured to be automated, where the next document in the queue is simply presented to the users for preview and review. After confirming that the redaction is complete, the document transitions from the inbox queue, as previously demonstrated. We have now navigated back to the workflow lifecycle view, where we can see that there are only 3 documents remaining in the redaction review queue, and the 5 documents I just approved for redaction are all in the complete queue. Although we are reviewing the documents in the complete queue, this step is not performed in a production deployment because the final processing and redaction burn-in step is fully automated. We are only having the document stop here to allow me to demonstrate what the final redacted documents look like. All of the handwritten
So if you have an existing ECM, Enterprise Content Management System, or also known as Enterprise Content Services Solution or a document management system, you can potentially leverage that system to store and manage the ICARS process redacted documents. Or you could opt to leverage the robust Enterprise Content Management System we include with our solution. In either scenario, by electronically managing and securing the redacted and unredacted documents, the redaction effort will not have to be repeated in the future in order to fulfill FOIA requests or when publishing information to your portals or websites. Additionally, internal employee access to documents that contains PII will be secured and includes an audit trail or document history. The next demonstration video illustrates the retrieving of the documents and accessing each document's history or audit trail.
This demonstration video has been created to illustrate the ease of retrieving previously redacted documents from our Intelligent Computer Assisted Redaction solution, ICARS for short. The need to retrieve the documents may be required for internal business processing, to fulfill FOIA requests, or to publish information to public portals. I will also be demonstrating the robust audit trail and document history capabilities included with our ICARS system to ensure timely processing and system accountability. The proof of residency verification documents we will be retrieving were redacted during our previous ICARS redaction processing demonstration. Although in this demonstration we are only querying documents based on the application year keyword field, the system may be configured to store and retrieve documents by any number of customizable fields. Any combinations of keyword fields may be used to search for documents, including document dates and date ranges, in order to quickly access and retrieve the relevant documents and content. Once accessed, the documents can be viewed, routed for workflow processing, emailed, delivered through a secure file share, printed, and more. The documents that are accessible to each user is based on their security rights. All document actions performed by users are recorded, and as a result, there is a comprehensive document history or audit trail that is created, as we will show in this demonstration. The search results of the query are displayed as a list of documents that are sortable and filterable based on the keyword fields that have been configured for your organization. A simple double click on the desired line item will open the document in the viewer. The first item we are retrieving is a New York State driver license for Michael Motorist. I am quickly resizing the image to fit the viewer height, but as a configurable option, the documents can also be viewed in a new window. The driver license ID and the date of birth have been recognized, redacted, and burned into the image. From a right mouse click, there are several options presented, which are restricted by the user's security level. In my case, I'm an administrator, so all possible options are at my disposal, including printing, saving it to the clipboard, saving it to another file location, or emailing a copy, and more. The document history of each item is also accessible via a right mouse click from the document selection list or from the open document, as shown here. The document history displays the date and time, the user, the action performed, and the action detail of every activity on the document. The history is sortable and filterable, allowing authorized users to quickly access the activity or activities they would like to review. Appropriately privileged users may also review the document's workflow history, which indicates when the document entered the various workflow life cycles and queues, the entry and exit time from each queue, as well as the user who approved the workflow transition actions. Like the document history, the workflow queue history is readily sortable and filterable from the header line. Reports and/or graphical dashboard views may also be generated against the document histories across all documents throughout the system. For example, it would be very easy for an authorized user to generate a report or access a dashboard showing all of the document views by a particular user for a particular date range. Reports and/or dashboard views can also be created to show the current status, processing time, user processing volumes, average processing times, and more of the ICARS redaction process. The next example document is a passport for a person named Happy Traveler. Here I have used the incremental zoom button to enlarge the image. We can see that our passport ID number and date of birth have been redacted and burned into the image. With each document retrieval example, we will be showing the permanent burned-in redactions, as well as presenting the document history and workflow histories of the documents. Now I am retrieving a W-4 document for Hannah Rivers. I'm using the Fit to Width button to scale the image. The handwritten Social Security number was recognized and redacted and burned into the document on all 3 pages where it was found. With this sample document, I'm going to show how users with appropriate permissions can access the original unredacted document by selecting Revision Rendition from a right mouse click menu item, should your organization opt for this configuration. In this case, Revision 1 is the unredacted original document. As with the other examples, all of the document history is also available to authorized users. Next up is a blank check that was provided by the Smiths as a form of proof of residency. You can see that the routing number and account number redactions were created and are now permanently burned into the image. Here too, we see the document history and workflow histories for the document. Lastly is an example of an email message that has the account number information redacted from the subject line and message body. In this case, I am demonstrating access to the document history from a right mouse click on the document selection list, as opposed to a right mouse click from the document itself, as I have previously shown. In summary, when the documents have been processed through our intelligent computer-assisted redaction solution. The redacted documents are securely and instantaneously accessible for review or distribution, with the document and processing history available to authorized users.
I'd like to summarize. Let me turn my camera back on. In summary, I'd like to reiterate that in this demonstration, we had every document stop for manual approval of the redactions. However, in a real-world scenario, you would have the system automatically create those soft redactions, go to the workflow, automatically have them burned in, and go straight through without the documents having to stop in any queue for a human review. And you can decide which types of documents stop for human review. And on all these documents in the example, they were documents for proof of residency, but they could be documents, they could be legal contracts, they could be deed and mortgage documents. There's no limit to the type of documents, and whether it's machine text or whether it's handwritten, they can go through this process. And again, you can have it go through fully automated. Certain documents, you're going to have a high level of confidence. It's going to flow right through. There's going to be zero human intervention. Other documents that may be more complex, that have more obscure examples of PII, it may get most of them and 99% or 90% of them, and then you want to add 10% manually, and those are the ones potentially you'd want to have it stop for review. But again, for demonstration purposes, we wanted to show it stopping so you could see what it was doing. And then ICARS in general, what it's going to do is help you comply with regulations and mitigate risk and exposure for sharing that PII information, reduce errors, and save redaction processing time. We've seen it many times with our customers that have done manual redactions. They're making best attempts at redacting it, but it's a lot of manual human eyeballs on these documents, and on long documents, it's very tedious, and it's only human nature to miss certain elements that are embedded in the middle of pages. ICARS doesn't get tired. It can go through and read tens of thousands of pages without any strain. And then you can also save, I mentioned before, saving time on retrieving and distributing these documents, because once they've been redacted, now you have a redacted copy, and that is the distribution or the FOIA request copy. And then, lastly, you have and what I just showed in the last little bit of the presentation, you have these audit trails in this document history where, if you're doing manual redactions, whether it be in paper with, markers or whiteout, or whether you're doing it with other electronic systems, there's very little insight as to who's performing those tasks, when they're performing it, and how long it takes. Whereas you have complete visibility into those processes when you have an automated ICARS solution. So at this time, I'm going to open it up for some questions. I know there were some questions asked earlier, so I'm going to jump into that, and then and if there's any additional questions, please type them in the Q&A, and I'll be happy to answer those. So let me see. So the first one, I'm not quite sure. Gary, did you get any clarification on CPES? I'm not sure what that is. Does the webinar offer CPES? It is going to be available. It's recorded. It's going to be available for streaming after the fact. So if that's what that acronym means, then it is. But if it's not, please clarify that, and I'll be happy to answer it. There's no polling questions at this time, but I will be contacting all of the attendees individually, through email or through a phone call, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. And if you have any feedback and you'd like to know more, I'd be more than happy to answer those questions. And then we've got some more questions here. I think this was sort of answered in the beginning. Can you redact information that is not considered PII or is different from our examples? Absolutely. Again, these were just some sample documents from one of our customers that uses it for proof of residency. So these are some of the types of documents they see, but there is really no limit to the types of documents or the type of PII that is being automatically flagged and marked for redaction. And again, that process can be fully automated, or it can go through a review process. Is there a limit to the number of redactions per page? No. You can literally have one item on a page, or you could have dozens. As long as it satisfies the criteria and the software recognizes the PII content through the configuration, which is a service that we provide, but certainly you would be able to modify. You can have any number of redactions per page. The next one is a common question. Can the solution be hosted in the cloud? Absolutely. It can be hosted in the cloud. So ICARS can be in a public cloud like AWS or Azure, or it can be in the Ephesoft managed cloud. So yeah, it could be in either location. How long does the solution take to implement? That question is a little trickier because it really would depend on your government agency or department's volume of documents, how complex the documents are, how much PII is on those. So there's there's some configuration questions around that dictates the deployment time. But the short answer is weeks to months, depending on the complexity. And kind of ties in with the last question, I think. Yeah, how is the solution priced? Again, the solution is priced based on the volume of documents and pages that go through it. That determines the software subscription, whether it's on premise, in a virtual machine, or whether it's in your private cloud, or whether it's managed, also dictates the subscription fees. But largely, it's composed of the volume is a big driver, and then also how many reviewers. We include 25 reviewers in the base package. So if you have 25 or fewer, the number of reviewers isn't going to impact the cost. It would be solely based on the volume of documents and the complexity of the configuration, because there is a professional services element to it. I will also add that there is a local government special pricing for ICARS. So if you're a local government or a municipality with a population of less than 250,000 constituents, there's special pricing for that. And I see one more. Well, there's a couple more questions. Let me see, one more just came in here. So does the solution then leave the original record unredacted but ingest and redact a copy of the original, leaving us the opportunity to keep both the original? The answer to that is yes. So you have the choice. So you can have the original record pristine, untouched, right? And then have a redacted copy that is stored as a revision of the original, or as a separate document type from the original. And like in one of the examples we have, so you could say, here's the driver's license document type, unredacted original. Then you could have another document type called, redacted driver's license, and we store it as an entirely separate document type. So that way they're both maintained, and you can have different security to those two different document types. You can set it up so that they're separate from each other. So you really have that option. And then as a last option, if you only wanted to store the redacted copy, you can basically have the redacted copy be stored solely and not have an original unredacted copy. So it's completely at your discretion, and the configuration is entirely customizable. Let's see. And can the software also be used to classify documents and extract data? I think that may have come, that question may have come in as a result of Andrew's presentation. Absolutely. So, ICARS is designed to flag the PII information and mark it for redaction. However, if you can use the very same Ephesoft software to take the same documents or different documents and have it locate data on those documents for automated indexing and classification and storage of those documents into your system. Or it can take that data that it extracts and put it into any other sort of business software application or database at your discretion. I don't see any other questions coming in. Jerry, did you see any other questions coming in?
I did not, Mark.
Okay. So again, I'd like to reiterate, thank you so much for your time today. And we appreciate it. This is how you can reach us. We're at computersi.com. My email address, Mark Antonacci, is at marka@computersi.com, and that's our company phone number. So feel free to reach out to us anytime. I will be reaching out and sending out emails to all the attendees as a follow-up, and feel free to ask me questions offline. And as a reminder, this presentation will be linked to this presentation will be sent to everybody who registered, whether they actually attended or not. So if you had colleagues that registered and they were unable to attend due to their schedules, they will get a link to the recording, and they can watch it at any time. Again, thank you very much, and I hope you all have a great day. Bye now.
Thank you.
Thank you.